Oh, yeah. Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to another live interview. I'm joined here by none other than Mitchell F. Chan, one of my favorite artists. How are you doing today, Mitch?
I'm doing great, Red. It is great to hear your voice. We've been hanging out online for a long time, and this is like the first time that we've voice chatted.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this is the first time we actually chat. And I told you I have watched many of your interviews and we also look alike a little bit. Yeah, you
Really?
look like a younger, better version of me, but
two, all right, two handsome guys here on the Twitter
but very,
Spaces.
very nice to meet you, man. I've been wanting to do this interview for a very long, long time, ever since Dave introduced me to your art. We have been doing a lot of content about your art and your drops, and every time I felt like, oh man, I should have paid more attention. I should have, got myself into the process more. And now it's my opportunity. So I'm super excited for this. And thank you so much for coming.
Delighted to be here.
So let's take things from the beginning, man. And let's get to meet Mitch when he was younger and he was coming into crypto. And you hadn't produced any output yet on the on chain. So who
hmm
were you?
So that was 2017. I was an artist working here in Toronto, and all my work involved. I shouldn't say all my work. A lot of my work involved technology in some way. I studied art and technology at the Art Institute of Chicago, and so I was really a new media artist. I would use kind of whatever technology I could get my hands on, and sometimes that was, electronics, sometimes it was robotics, sometimes it was code. And so in 2017, there was this new-ish technology that I was interested in that I hadn't seen a lot of artists making art about, even though I felt like it was a potentially transformative technology that would have a big impact on society and culture. And I certainly hadn't seen any artists making art with it, right? And that was blockchain technology. And so I'm learning about, obviously I'd known about Bitcoin for a while. And then, I'm learning about Ethereum and realizing its potential because if I can deploy a program to this blockchain, that means that I could make art on it. Right. But, my thing is, I'm more of an artist than a technologist, right? I'm not interested in doing stuff just to be like the first person to do it, or because it's there and, I want to play with this new toy. I want to make a statement about the technology itself. I want to put forward a thesis, my thesis, saying this is what I think this technology means. So I look back to art history and I try to figure out, what are some of the takes from conceptual art that we can apply to this. And I made this project. It was called Digital Zones of Immaterial Pictorial Sensibility, which is a really long title, which is why most people now just call it IKB, and which is the symbol for the token. And it was a project that was just sort of like it was about
Sorry
making
to pause you there, but I've
yeah.
always wondered why IKB as the token symbol.
Yeah, the IKB is the token symbol because the project that I deployed to the blockchain in 2017 was based on the work of a French artist named Yves Klein. And Yves Klein, he died in 1964, but not before he left behind like a really fascinating and really important body of work. And a lot of his work was about whether art needs to be material or
You know, I
immaterial.
was introduced to his work by your work because I'm not an intellectual like all your other friends. So I didn't know who that artist was, to be honest.
well, th-
And you introduced me to his work, and the appreciation I felt for his work was way more than if I originally stumbled upon it.
Well, that is great. Like, I love to hear that. And it's the case for, quite a few people in the crypto space that they discovered the work of Eve Klein through, through my own work. And I love that. Or like, that's the goal of a lot of what I do, right? Is, trying to teach people about, art history, not just because I like art history, like, those people, whatever, like they don't need any pamping from me. They're fine. They're doing fine, or they're already dead, right? Like, they don't need my pamping. But it's cool to learn about it because I think that perspective helps us understand crypto better. So it's like a two-way street in terms of like who benefits from this overlap of appreciation, right? So yeah, a lot of crypto people learned about Eve Klein through my work, and it was great. And then actually, over the course of the last couple of years, like Eve, like as I said, Klein died in 1964, sadly very young. His estate, has reached out to me at various points, and been very appreciative about the way that my work helped introduce him to a whole new audience. And we actually ended up working together on some stuff. I wrote an essay for them. For like a Sotheby's auction that talked about how I felt that he and his work, his so much of his work was about how we buy and sell art and what it means to own art, like how it makes you feel and how it changes the art itself just to own it. And so that's why I felt like his ideas are super relevant for thinking about owning tokenized art.
Yeah, it was so much ahead of his time. It was so misunderstood at the time, and then proved to be like light years ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before you mentioned you studied in Chicago, but you are from Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm from Canada. I'm talking to you now from my garage in Toronto, where it's not actually that cold. But I was born and raised in Pembroke, Ontario, small town on the Ontario-Quebec border, about 5 hours north as the crow flies from where I'm sitting right now. And up there, I think it is a fair bit colder.
Yeah, well, Canada has produced a very a lot of amazing artists, especially on the blockchain lately. A lot of big names are from Canada. I find this very unique. If you look
Yeah, it's
at
weird. Like,
sports, it's mostly America. I mean, mostly people from the States, but on crypto art, you see a lot of Canada like performing at top level.
absolutely, it's weird. Who knows why? But like from where I sit, I could easily go and visit. I know Dmitry Cherniak, Death Beef. I don't know. I don't know where these guys are now. Nobody knows where Matt and John from Larva Labs are right now. But their origin story involves meeting here at the University of Toronto, not too far away from me. And I could go on and on. And that's just this city.
Yes, exactly the people I had in mind also. And Toronto is the only Canadian city I've ever visited, and I really loved it. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. Oh man, I'm even forgetting Parallel, like over in like the creating the collectible card game. They're I think really close to where I am right now in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. On 2017, you launched IKB, but
Yeah.
it was extremely early. You brought like a super heavy concept, a very conceptual artwork into Ethereum, and Ethereum crowd was not ready to even understand it. So how was it for you? How did you feel when you launched that project? Did you expect it to ever mint out? From the perspective that you felt back then in 2017 when you were launching it. And a side question was, how much into crypto were you at the point in order to program it yourself and do all that work?
Oh boy. Okay, a couple questions there. I mean, first of all, in terms of the Ethereum community, I would give them credit. They probably would have been more ready to understand it than the art community, right? The problem was that I didn't really have a lot of connections in the crypto community. Crypto was something that I just did alone in my garage, and it was, we didn't, way back then we didn't even have Discord servers. Certainly none that I was on anyway. And I made kind of two mistakes in releasing it. Not that it would have made a difference. Like it was really early. I think no matter what, it wasn't gonna take off at that time. But my mistakes were, one, thinking that this was a way to teach the art community about crypto and its potential, and that was just not the case. Like, I unveiled this project in an art gallery here in Toronto. I lectured about it again at another art school in the United States, and it was just, I think, kind of over their heads technically, and whereas crypto people, like, had actually already been trying to think about art. There was, like, on the same day that I launched IKB, I think there was the opening of an exhibition at, like, the Consensus Summit, right? And it was curated by Sam Hart, and artists like Simon Denny and Rhea Myers and Terra Zero were in it. So crypto was trying to do more with art at the time than art was trying to do with crypto. So that was my mistake. But the other mistake was that I never made it easy. And I never ever wanted to make it easy for people. Like, this was about experiencing art, and it was about experiencing the blockchain. So I wrote, even in the liner notes to the artwork, I said there will never be a DApp. Like, there will never be a website where you can just click mint. Like, you're going to have to go and like you're going to have to go and, at that time, probably maybe set up a node, or like copy paste the contract ABI into my Ether wallet to mint one of these, because I wanted people to get close to the blockchain. So all that was kind of, so basically the project was, just completely unnoticed, which is fine. And then people found it. You found it. You ended up being able to mint out of the original contract, and Dave did, and a bunch of the CryptoPunks people did, and that was really awesome. And then your second question, oh yeah, how into crypto was I? So I say, like, I don't want to make it easy. I didn't want to make it easy to get into this art. Not for the collector, but not for myself either. Like, I'm a big believer in, like, if you want to make a commentary on an emerging technology or an emerging culture, like, you'd better get in it, right? Like, you better get all the way in, because I don't really have a lot of patience for, people who want to kick back and criticize something that they're not a part of, that they haven't tried to experience. And it's weird because, like, crypto is a technology, but we know it's also a culture, it's also a mentality. We know that being in crypto is weirdly emotional. Right? Like, it's weirdly emotional, even though all we're doing is interacting with this technology. So before I started, when I decided that I was going to make an art project with Ethereum, I just like, and look, the project is really about, like, what is the emotional and even spiritual feeling of ownership, and can we reproduce that on blockchain? I decided that, like, I needed to know what it felt like to own a bunch of coins. And so I had to go all in, and sort of, as, like, emotional research, I put half of my life savings into crypto in 2017. And then I spent about 6 months just day trading, like, just to know what it felt like to just be clicking as
Getting
tokens went
wrecked,
up and down.
aka getting wrecked.
Yeah, no, it was 2017. So
Oh, it was
even
a
an
pump.
idiot,
Yeah.
even an idiot, which I was, like, would not get wrecked. So I'm
Yeah.
super lucky. Like, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about crypto by doing that. I learned a lot about markets by doing that. And I learned a lot about myself. Like, when you put yourself in that position, you can make decisions based on stress. You can make decisions based on emotion. And if you're attuned to it, like, you can learn a lot about yourself. And I mean, I'm really lucky that I was learning those lessons at a time when I wouldn't really get wrecked.
Absolutely, I completely agree. In many cases, it's like poker. On poker, no matter how much you study, you have to pay to learn the game. So I think
Absolutely.
it's exactly the same as poker in that. Well, when I was starting in the NFT space, I was, as everyone, a different person than I am today. I was more opportunistic and I had more blunt views about a lot of things. And I have met wonderful people that helped me shape a more healthy thought process. One of those people has always been Dave, and he was the first person who introduced me to your art. And when he sent it to me, and he's like, "Hey, Red, this is art. This is like the heavy shit." And as I said, I was a little bit of an asshole back then, and I was like, "What is this? He's selling you air or something. This is a scam, Dave." And he's like, bless his heart, man. He was like so patient with my autistic ass. He was like, "No, man, like this is good. Check it out." And he took the time, explained it to me, and yeah, I was like, "Yeah, maybe this is good. What this is." I don't know what it is, but it got me super excited. And then I met you, and that opened me to a whole new world and more art and the art of Eve and so many new people. So it was extremely great for me, and it gave me a sense of like diving deep into super smart art is so cool, and I felt really really good. So thank you for that, and massive shout out to Dave. And back then we did an interview on our server, and I think it was around the fourth wave. I minted for 1.6. We were trying to get people to mint, and then the news got out, and the whole collection was minted basically instantly by the final wave. But you have some incredible collectors in there, and the sales have been insane. And you have been doing a great work at curating the collection into the future. You wrote a wrapper contract. And what are the future plans for IKB?
Well, yeah. First of all, I just to go back, yeah, massive shout out to Dave. Where would any of us be without Dave? Where would the NFT space be without Dave, the
He's
invisible
the
puppet
silent
master?
hero, right? He's
Yeah,
like the Batman of NFTs, the
yeah.
anti-hero.
So yeah, definitely want to agree with that. And in terms of like yeah, like that like that experience that you described, like it goes both ways in terms of like me also meeting people. I'm really lucky. It's a small collection. Like there's only 100 tokens like in there, and like you said, they went pretty fast. So they went to people who were pretty much into NFTs reasonably early, and like who took the patience to learn about the project, because it's dense and it's not easy, and there's a lot of reading that you have to do to really get it, which sounds so boring.
And a little piece of gossip there. I think His Excellency also owns an IKB. Is that true?
Oh yeah, no, his excellency has three.
Whoa.
um and so yeah, that's the community. All this is to say, the community of IKB collectors is small, but it's a really nice community. I'm in pretty regular touch, not necessarily with His Excellency directly, but with his people at Ape NFT Foundation. And I mean, this would surprise people to hear, but like the people that he installed at Ape NFT Foundation, which we don't hear a lot about in like English speaking Twitter, because it's a much bigger thing over in Asia. But the people that he installed to run that, like they are really good people who really care about art. Like they have supported me tremendously. Actually, I just got a DM from one of them on Telegram this morning about the new project that I got to respond to, like being on top of stuff, like, hey, how can we support this? They're great. So it is yeah, so it's a great community of like some small collectors who are just here early, some bigger like institutions and capital funds and stuff like that, and one excellency.
Yeah, that's great. And a few common mortals like us that will hold.
Yeah, but like smart and fun mortals.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to your next collection. I think it was the generator on Art Block, right?
Yeah. And so, look, that was a piece. Again, I never expected that to get really big. I never expected that to get really big. That was like the impetus for that started when Art Blocks was just starting up. Like it was before ringers had gone crazy. It was before fidenzas. It was before all of that, and it was in the really, really early days of art blocks. I was talking to Snowfro, and like I'd learned about art blocks, and I was just so excited about art blocks, the platform. I was convinced, and I still am convinced, that art blocks, the platform, like it's a major it's a major development in the history of a certain type of art. Like if you and I mean that just sounds so that sounds so obvious to say, right now. Now there are thousands and thousands and thousands of art blocks fanboys who would say the same thing. But, I was genuinely excited about this. And I was telling Snowflake, I was like, this platform, just what you've done and the way that you've the way that you've set up minting and the way that you set up code on chain and this deterministic, randomization. It's so interesting in like the context of conceptual art history. I'd like to make this
That's an insane point because generative art was nothing before Snowfro came into the picture. Like Tyler Hobbs' pieces were selling for $200 before Snowfro created basically the movement of generative art for he made it big,
Yeah.
this was probably nothing before him. So generative art existed, and of course there's like thousands of examples in history, but like he was the person who like made it big, and people don't understand. We were talking in Punk's chat, and he was in there, and he was explaining art blocks, sort of like I am explaining Gazette and nobody's paying attention,
Mhm.
and people weren't really getting it. And I was talking with my buddy Pirk, and he was like, "Man, you should write on your Gazette about art blocks. It's a cool little project." And I was already minting the squiggles there, so I was like, "Hey, Snowfro, you want to write about?" Art blocks, and he wrote the article on the Gazette that we published. And basically, over there, he described art blocks as a vending machine. You put a coin, and you get an artwork out. And this is what we used like months later on a cover we did for art blocks, where there was a kid and there had like the grappler and like
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
remember that cover. I remember that cover very well. I
mm.
remember that cover very well. It's one of my favorites. I see that Dudley is listening. And Dudley, I don't think I ever said this out loud to you, but Dudley, you are one of my favorite artists in the space. I love, 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 love the covers.
Yeah, man. Dudley is usually home co-hosting from the Red Line account, but he's driving home now, and there's it's foggy. He said so that's why he's not here chatting with us. But as soon as he get home, I think he will be on. But yeah, man, Dudley is definitely an undervalued artist in this space. That cover was insane, but it came from like let's say Snow's mind, the way he
Yeah.
like put that article at the beginning. But yeah, man, people didn't know what was art blocks and what project number was with generator.
It was number 118, and it would have been higher, but I held it back for a long time. And but it was actually really it was actually kind of perfect luck that it ended up being number 118. So yeah, with the art blocks thing, it's like, look, everything that you're saying is true, right? Snowfro and art blocks, made it blow up. Like on the market level, But, I was, dumb me. I never anticipated. And come on, I don't think anybody could have anticipated. I don't think Snowfro even anticipated
I was
what.
minting squiggles to support them, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I didn't
I was
expect
like,
our.
man, like fuck all this shit. Like I'm gonna mint this cool squiggle just to support my buddies and because I think it's cool, you know. And yeah, that was it. I remember when I was minting, I was like, I'm sure this will never resell. Because like at the time I was flipping and stuff, you know, I was a little bit different, more opportunistic, and I was like, I'm sure this will never sell, but it's good stuff. I will just mint it.
Yeah, but you're
Uh,
like, oh, let's support this guy's little project. He
my
put
my best hold, man, my
yeah,
best fucking
yeah. He's
hold.
let's give Snow for a little positive reinforcement. In case this thing doesn't really work out for him.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
but up till that point, punks were not worth a lot of money. He was just an active community member, like super much there. Like he was part of like the whole punk renaissance, let's say. But punks didn't have the value they have today or the notoriety. They zombies were not also so expensive. They were like I don't know, 10 to 30
Mhm.
at the time, so it was completely different.
Yeah, it was well. At that time, nobody could have anticipated that art blocks would advance the generative art market the way that it did. I mean, that's been crazy. But I thought right away that this advances ideas in generative art and ideas in conceptual art. And I was really like, when I looked at how art blocks had set itself up as this art vending machine, as this thing that preserved a chunk of code, a set of instructions on the blockchain to be immutable, but allowed that code to output an infinite number of permutations, like of mints. I just said, this is so interesting if you think about the history of artists who wanted their art to be only instructions. And there always kind of was that link between computer generated art and conceptual art. But it was taken to a whole new place, I thought, with the art blocks mechanism, with the art blocks platform. So I said, Snowfro, like, I want to make this piece that will just explicitly connect what art blocks does to some of the ideas that conceptual artists had 50 years ago. So I made this piece. It was called Lewitt Generator. And like, it was, it was a sketch, really. And it was a sketch that's based on a project like, these are points that I'd been trying to make throughout my career. And now with NFTs, there was an audience for them, people who really wanted to hear them. And it was like, to my surprise, like or the audience was generally not coming from, an art background of people who were interested in learning about blockchain and other technology. It was coming from like blockchain people who were really interested in learning about art. So I made Lewitt Generator just to be, a sketch that would just kind of like link those ideas. And it released like right at the beginning of the art blocks peak in August of 2021. And I'm really proud of those pieces. I think they came out nice, but that's sort of how that came about. And I was surprised that they, that edition of 750, they minted out in like 7 minutes, because they were also released kind of at the peak of IKB mania as well. So that was a time, man. That was a crazy time.
Yeah, that was great. I also have a couple of those, and I really love them. So this piece that you dropped on Art Blocks is uh, you are using like sorry, I'm not very familiar. So write me if I'm wrong. So did you use the concept of Lewitt on this, or how did you use it? Can you please explain it
Yeah.
to me?
So quick background, right? Saul
Yeah.
Lewitt was this artist who was active in the late 50s and 60s. I mean, after that, but he sort of rose to prominence around then, in the early 60s. And he was part of a group called the Conceptualists, who had this idea that the real artwork is the idea. right? The idea is the real artwork. And however that idea manifests itself, that's nice, but that's just gravy. It's the idea is the real thing. Hence, conceptualists, the concept, my idea for the artwork is the most important thing. And so the way that, Sol LeWitt executed that idea was that, he would create instructions for how someone should a drawing on a wall in a museum. And so one of these and they were all numbered. So, for example, Sol LeWitt's wall drawing number 118 was nothing but these instructions. It said, on a continuous stretch of wall, create 50 random points and connect all points with straight lines. Now, and then when a museum bought that artwork, they were really just buying a signed set of those instructions. And then they would get whomever to execute it. Now, to me, this sounds a lot like generative art. And it sounds extra much like, generative art on art blocks, where like the artist just creates the code, right? They just create that set of instructions. Yeah. And then, it comes out however it comes out, right? And people are buying one iteration of those instructions. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing to do on on art blocks. So, and the other thing too is even those instructions that I said, on a continuous stretch of wall, create 50 random dots, connect all dots with straight lines. Like that sounds like a computer program. Like that sounds like
exactly, sounds like
yeah, exactly. So it's so beautiful. It's such a simple little computer program just expressed in plain language. So I made that
analog program.
Yeah. So I made that and I added some bells and whistles and that was it. And this was another reason why it was such a cool coincidence. I did translate Sol LeWitt's wall drawing number 118 to code, and it ended up being Art Blocks project number 118 as well.
Yeah, so this is why I brought it up, and pardon my ignorance, because like I remember I read about it, but like I couldn't remember exactly how you did it. But as everyone can see, there's a pattern emerging here with your IKB project. Being linked to Yves Klein, and right now, after that, the Lewitt generator linked to Sol LeWitt. I love this whole approach and the way you are educating people about art history through your work, and the way your work links so beautifully with those people's work. It's really great. For me that we also double in education. It's really great, man. I totally enjoy it.
Well, that's great. And like I say, like that's one of the goals, right? Is I want to contribute to the space. Like I want to contribute to crypto culture. And one of the ways I can do that is by bringing these other ideas like from my world, from my background, and like try to present them in a way that's not saying like, look at me, I can make all these like smart art history references. It's like trying to present them in a way that says like, we all spend a lot of time thinking about crypto and blockchain technology and stuff like that. Here are some ideas that like, are you can use these as a tool to think about blockchain, and it can change your perspective on it. And then hopefully it goes the other way around. Like one of the benefits of creating that kind of artwork is that when NFTs took off and the whole art world had to be like, was like, what the fuck? And, had, I think in a lot of cases, a knee-jerk reaction to dislike it and be critical of it, right? My projects were pieces that they could look at and say, and they would say, no, like there are real artistic ideas here. Like all those ideas that you care about, art people, from the past however many centuries of art history, like all those ideas can be like extended and find a new home here. And like blockchain technology, NFTs can even add really interesting wrinkles to these ideas that you all have been writing essays and books about for however many decades, So it was like when the art world was trying to grapple with NFTs in the beginning, like it was, like not a coincidence that my projects would get mentioned in a lot of those texts. Like in the first article in Art Forum that talked about NFTs, like they mentioned digital zones, right? And they would mention it in Art in America when they were all trying to develop their think pieces to like figure out what NFTs were all about.
I love it, man. That's such a great quote and such a nice way to look at things. After the Art Blocks project, I think the next one that you are putting out right now is Beggar's Belief, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a very, very unique artistic concept, and this is something completely different uh, than what you have done before. I mean, like the IKB was very unique for its time, the Lewitt generator displays how beautiful you link your concepts to the artists and their work, as you explained before. How do you expand on those traditional art concept in an elegant way? And now Beggars Belief it's something completely different.
Yeah, it's completely different. Like if there's one thing that's kind of defined my career as an artist over 15 years, it's that I tend to do totally different projects every single time. But this, like Beggar's Belief, is the type of work that I have been wanting to do for years, right? It's been years and years and years that I've wanted to make projects like this. And now I'm extremely fortunate. I'm extremely privileged that I have the freedom to do that, to do this now. And because it's been really time consuming. Like it's been a year and a half since I put up my last project on Art Blocks, right? But so Beggar's Belief, this is a series. That's the name of the series of artworks that I'll be putting out over the next few years. And the first one just went live on Feral File this week and will be available for sale next Tuesday. And what it is, like, look, in simple terms, it's a video game. Like, it's an NFT video game. If you collect the NFT, like, first of all, I mean, anyone can play the game, just like anybody can look at your CryptoPunk, or anyone can look at your, can look at your JPEG. But so anybody can play the game by just looking in your wallet, and on OpenSea, they look through your wallet, they see the NFT, like it's playable right there in the OpenSea window. And yeah, it's like, it's kind of a digital painting that moves and that you play through. And it's me using the medium, like using the format of video games to say stuff the way that I've always been saying stuff. It's just an artwork that makes, that has something to say about America, and that has something to say about social issues of equality, and that I think just looks good and is fun.
It's not just fun. It's visually unique and it's very intriguing. I mean, like, what was his name of that dude? Benjamin. He kicks my ass. Like, I almost broke my mouse, but yeah, I had a lot of fun, and it made me think. It made me question again, like what is possible to be art and what is possible to be sold, and what is what are concepts that breaking it, and this is a very interesting concept again, and conceptually it's beautiful. It's not weird in a sense that it's very artsy, but it's very traditional, and I love the vibes.
Thank you. I'm so glad people love the vibes. And
Yeah.
it's I'm incredibly proud of this work. And I think that it's something that people just haven't seen before, just in terms of the medium and what it's doing for NFTs. And it's and it's like you said, talking about what can be art. So like, let's talk about this on like a really practical level, right? I just wanted, like, I just think that art can look a lot more like a video game, because we understand, we accept that art is going to happen in a digital medium, in a digital format right now. Okay, so like let's take advantage of everything that we can do in a digital space. Like I don't understand why you should look at a beeple and not think, well, I'm looking at this through a screen anyway. Why can't I go into the beeple? Like, why can't I be inside this beeple painting? Like, why can't I move my camera around and stuff like that? Right? Like, that's just leveraging the technological tools that we have now as artists. So, you can call it game art and you can call it a game NFT. And the only reason why I hesitate to call it a game NFT is because it's already got this negative connotation, right? When people hear gaming NFTs, they think that they're going to be sucked in to some play to earn Ponzi scheme. And this bothers me because I love games. Like, I think video games are a legitimate art form. And now, blockchain has become a place where we could sell art. And it's just like everybody decided that they would make games on blockchain just as a trap for money, like to make a mechanism to trap people's money. Maybe you should make games on blockchain because you love making games, and because like NFTs have made digital art, like a viable, like a viable commodity right now.
Yeah, man, 100%. I agree here. You made me think while you were saying this. It made me think all the traditional paintings that people are obsessed about and go to museums to see. If you could actually be that NPC, and actually walk and do the activities that they are doing, and this communicated it very nice and visually with me right now. The way the Croquet challenge works.
Yeah, like it's so to give people some background of what they can expect. So this was like, it's just, there's a painting of people playing croquet on a lawn in the year 1865, right? And the NFT puts you in a game where you are just inside the painting and the people in the painting are playing croquet, so you're playing croquet. Like, on that level, it's super simple.
Yeah, and when is it releasing? In 4 days, on the 29th, right?
Yeah, on Tuesday it'll go for sale. On
Okay,
Tuesday
so
it'll go for sale.
and it's an open edition, right?
It's an open edition for 72 hours. It'll be
For
open.
72 hours. Okay, all right. Okay, that's very nice and really cool, very unique artwork. And I was not expecting this. I was watching um, the little episodes that you're making, and I was skipping and playing the clicking games, but I did not expect this to be the next step. Uh, I loved it.
Yeah, I love surprising people like that. And I'll tell you how this came about. So this piece is actually a commission for a museum, right? It's been commissioned by the Albright Knox Museum. And as part of this exhibition, it's being hosted online on feralfile.com. That's where you can see it. There are like 12 other like really, really good artists in the show, names that that many people here should recognize as being sort of leaders in
Yeah, that
blockchain
was
art.
that was my next question.
Yeah, and so I'll tell you more about it. But so the way that it came out was the curator at the Albright Knox, Tina Rivers Ryan. She asked some artists to make work that would respond to art history, and I knew that because I'm the guy who makes blockchain art about this like really esoteric and dense conceptual art from the past, that like that's probably why they invited me and expected me to do that. And I just like, I don't want to spend the rest of my career doing that. And also, like, I was just at this moment where, like, I just want NFTs to be fun again. And then, we'll make them smart, after we're done making them fun. And so I was just like, they were probably expecting that I would do like another Saul LeWitt or like Eve Klein or something. I was like, no, I'm just gonna make a croquet video game, okay? And
I
that's
love
how
it.
it
I
went.
love it. I love it, Rebel. And what other artists in that exhibition you like? Because I see some excellent pieces. So what stands out to you?
Yeah, look, the exhibition itself, yeah, it's a big deal. Like, partially because of kind of where it fits in, like in this moment in history in terms of museums adopting NFTs, but mainly like just because of the artists who are in it. So Rhea Myers is in it. If people here don't know who Rhea Myers is, I mean, she's probably like one of the, like, geniuses of like NFT history. She wrote a spec for how NFTs would work before Ethereum was deployed. Like, she's always looked at blockchain as an artistic medium. And so when like Ethereum was still in development, she was like, oh yeah, you could use this to transact art. Like, this is exactly how you would do it. Like, you would like put a token hash here and you would transact here, and this is like what a smart contract would look like. So she's absolutely brilliant. Simon Denny is in the show. Simon is probably, I hate to say like first and everything because you can always be wrong, but he was the first big artist I was aware of who was making art about blockchain, who cared about it. And to the point where even like in 2017, when I was making my first blockchain project, like I had a book on my desk that was a catalog of one of his exhibitions. And the piece that he has done for this show, it's so good. Like, it is so smart. It has so many layers to it. He made these paintings, like physical paintings of Decentraland tokens, and then he made digital tokens that look like Monopoly pieces, that look like Monopoly property
Oh yeah, I see it in
receipts.
front of me.
Yeah. And then he made digital tokens that confer ownership of the paintings of the digital, like, Decentraland plots. And it's all like, and it's all really, really smart. It's all really, really fun. So I love that. Other people like X Shells is in it. Sarah Zucker, she has these pieces in there that I think are just so fun and colorful. They're really beautiful. Geez, who else am I missing? Ann Spalter, another like digital art, generative art OG, who has done a lot for digital art over the course of her long and illustrious career. Sarah Friend, another Canadian from Toronto. We lost her. She moved away to Berlin a few years ago, but an artist whose work I've always followed. I'm missing a whole bunch, but there's like,
Europe
it's
drafted her.
Hmm?
Europe
Yeah,
drafted her.
yeah.
Yeah, man, a wonderful exhibition. I'm just scrolling as you say the names, and I stumble on the pieces, and they all look amazing. What I really love is that your art is heavily on the conceptual side, and this is really hard. All the pieces that always challenge the traditional art views, they are all, well, not always, but like mostly come from like the conceptual side of the
Mm-hmm.
piece. And a recent example was the banana taped on the wall, which I
Yeah,
thought was brilliant because if you buy it as a collector, when you are recreating the piece, it's the original because you have that receipt, you know.
exactly.
So I was like, people don't fucking get it that this banana for 100K was like a sweet fucking deal, you know. So
Exactly, right? It's not the banana that you are buying, it's the idea.
like
And,
the fountain from what was the name, the classic artist,
yeah, Duchamp.
Duchamp, yeah, like he was like the papa, the grandpa that created this movement, let's say, or made it more popular in a way, I think, and a lot of artists challenging the traditional art every time, making those works that break everything, you know. These are super super interesting, and that's why I love your work, and I think it's so valuable in the big if you zoom out, you know. And concept, not many people are like heavily on the conceptual side, especially on Ethereum, you know, and on
Mhm.
blockchain. So yeah, this is one of the aspects that I really enjoy about your work, and I feel the connection with traditional art, but I feel also the change and the radical side in it.
Yeah, I thank you. That's the goal. I mean, for me, that's what art can do, and that's what art should do. Is look, it's fine to buy, it's fine to be excited about art that looks beautiful and it looks great over your sofa or whatever. Like that's fine. That is great. And art has aesthetics, and those aesthetics can be very uplifting. Uh, um, that's fine. But what art has done really well over the last 150 years is be this little sandbox where you can play with ideas and figure out a way to give a little bit of form to some ideas about the world around us, or the world as it may be becoming, you know um, and to be able to express those ideas in some kind of, even just a barely visual form, is really exciting. It opens itself up to interpretation and interaction from an audience in a way that an essay, say, doesn't. And that's really, I think, what art can contribute to society today. Now, especially right now in the blockchain space, where we're still figuring out, you know, our conception of like what we are and what we're all doing here and what this space means and what this technology means, it's really important that artists are playing around with it and just kind of giving shape to some ideas and some opinions and some perspectives about that.
What are a couple of things that you really love about the crypto art NFT space and crypto space in general, like, and a couple of things that you absolutely detest?
So the things that I love, I mean, number one is the people that I have met. That's like collectors and just like other creators, and other artists. I've been really, really fortunate to be able to meet and spend time with a lot of artists that I admire. And then I can also honestly say that, look, I'm very critical of art. I don't like a lot of art. Like, there's very little art that I actually like. But most of my favorite art that I've seen in the last 2 years like has been in the crypto space. And that makes sense because I have my biases. Like, I'm interested in this technology and I'm interested in this culture. So whoever can say something smart about it or advance it a little bit through art is obviously going to be like, that's going to connect with me. But like, there is some legitimately really good artwork. Like, never mind crypto art, this is just like, if you were to just make a show of just the best art that has come out in the last 3 years, I think some of it would be art that was sold as an NFT. Like, I genuinely love this Simon Denny piece that is in this show. I think it's one of my favorite works of art that I will see
The
this year.
Monopoly card.
Yeah, I think that it's I think that it's so good. I genuinely I genuinely appreciate, like, I think that like Stevie P's art is like, it's just legitimately good. And this is an artist who makes work about, like, this is an artist who makes work about financial systems, and he makes artwork about money. And you can't make art about that without, like, as well, unless you use blockchain, like, unless you use tokens are the perfect way to make art about that. So like, I love this stuff. I genuinely love it. And then the stuff that I dislike is, look, I try not to complain too much in public. We have our private forums where I bitch and complain all the time, but in public, because it's fine. Look, man, sometimes the herd follows some messed up directions. Okay. Like, and we know that, like, particularly like when things were crazy, like the bull market was crazy, you can just, it's easy to talk yourself into anything when you have the potential to make a lot of money off of it. Which means that a few kind of like market leaders and market manipulators were able to set an agenda, like a critical agenda about what we should look at as good you know, and that's not really positive, you know. That can be pretty frustrating, but it happens. And you know, I just believe those things all sort of equal themselves out in time, so I try not to worry too much about it unless I can, you know, make a particularly poignant and well phrased joke.
I agree about that. You know, I also wrote an article about it early on when I was still writing for the Gazette. It was based on Charlie Munger's speech on the Lollapalooza effect when
Hmm.
you
I
have
remember that too. I remember that
mm,
one.
when you have so many like misaligned informations that are based on biases, then your your sense of making the right decision is not there because your brain turns into a mush basically, and you are subject to FOMO and all the bad emotions. So I said that this is exactly what it translates to the crypto art market like amazingly, and wrote an article. I'm not that good of a writer when I write, but the idea I think was there, you know, and it is in line with what you're saying. Also, on the point you made earlier, I think that the way I see it, you know, like there is always some kind of like bad boys in the art space. So in during my generation, sorry, this was about what you said that you know you have your bias because crypto art looks better to you, and I don't think it's unnatural because growing up, like I didn't like anything of like the previous 90s, 80s styles. Like when I was at the time in the 90s, you know, I liked the new stuff like anime and like graffiti and these styles. They were exciting to me and they looked good to me, and the old stuff just didn't, you know. And I feel the same way like that with crypto art. So uh, I definitely can relate to that. Especially we saw street art and graffiti like being like this uh, vandalism thing and
Yeah.
turning into fine art. They rip out fucking walls to sell that shit, you know. And the same thing, of course, we all think that crypto art is next, right?
Hmm.
From the dirty corners of the internet into the finer saloons of art exhibitions and stuff. So anyway, that was my comment about it, you know, because you mentioned on that earlier.
Yeah, who
Uh,
knows? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, in 30 years, you know, everyone will be saying, yeah, this space will be completely, you know, sanitized and just like the graffiti art that you've talked about. We'll see. I like, and that's just the other thing. Like in terms of what is my, you know, my favorite part about the crypto scene is like just being here, like just having been here and lived through the last like 3 years, you know, and lived through it, you know, with you and with, you know, some of our friends that we've talked about, like, you know, lived through it with Dave and lived through it with, you know, some of the other artists I've connected with. Man, that this has been special. Like this was a really special time. Like,
there is
the,
no other art community that it becomes your daily life, right?
yeah, yeah. And look, like I'm telling you, like this, look, the market will go up again and the
Yeah,
market
of
will go
course.
down again. Okay. Like the market will go up higher than it was before and the market will go down lower than it was before. All this stuff will happen. That will be cyclical. But like this time that we had over the last couple of years where it was just all new and everybody was, you know, everybody was, I mean, making new friends, but also like land grabbing and trying to like be the first to do this and the first to do that and figuring out what the heck was going on. And you never knew what was going to explode in 3 weeks. Man, that's special. That's the best thing.
Yeah,
Just being like,
exactly. That
I,
feeling back then was incredible.
I had a good, you know, I had a friend who is, you know, like a very, you know, famous artist who's sort of been through this, you know, before whenever net art kind of exploded in, you know, the gallery art world at a time in the 90s. And, you know, this person said to me, they said, look, just enjoy it. It's really special when you get to, when these avant garde moments happen and they don't happen very often.
Exactly. It's the same. A lot of times when we speak with our team internally, I always say, guys, I know we are struggling at some things, but this is the nice type of struggle. You will always remember back to this with nostalgia, some sweet nostalgia that, man, these were the days, we were
Oh
we
yeah.
were fighting for it, and the same thing was back then, as you described. Every day we wake up and you feel not just FOMO but excitement. What is going to happen today? Who am I going to meet? Am I going to get more rich today? Am I going to get poor? What's gonna happen? So yeah, absolutely incredible feeling, and totally the same. So a lot of builders probably can relate to that.
Absolutely. And look, I'm looking at my, book of, my shelf of art history books, and like half the people that are written about in those books are people who were struggling when, all through, whatever crazy boom actually happened. But so I
We
just,
have to put one of our physicals in that bookshelf
oh yeah,
because it
absolutely.
is about art history. We are the first ones that document this type of art,
Yeah, that's a
as
good call,
we
actually.
discussed. Yeah.
That's a good call to action.
Well, I will send you one, no worries. My next question was going to be about, like, how do you see the space evolving into the future, as in terms of, like, right now we know what is an NFT, we know how we can use them, we know creative ways. Being the first to do a lot of things sometimes are great, but sometimes it's not just the only thing that matters. um, we saw generative art exploding in the space, and it's a totally new movement and art medium that goes mainstream. But how do you see things evolving up to 2030, let's say, in the NFT crypto art space?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, first of all, like there has to come to a point where we just take NFTs for granted. Like that just needs to happen, because that will mean that there's been mass adoption of this. Is all this is it's a really good technology for selling digital things. It's a really good technology for selling things that live on computers or on the internet, or as bits of code, or as ones and zeros. So, and then we won't be talking about buying and selling NFT. We will be, thankfully, we'll be back to just talking about buying or selling art, or buying or buying or selling concert tickets, or buying or selling Walmart coupons, right? And we'll just take it for granted that these are NFTs, that these are digital
Oh
tokens,
God, I agree so much with
right?
this. Yeah, man. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
And
100%.
it's
Like, you can buy real estate tickets. It solves, like, the secondary problem for tickets on concerts, and it's so many applications, right?
Yeah. So, and I think that that's good a little bit, because there's a little bit of pressure now on, like, artists to make artwork that have like properties of also being, it's just like of also being concert tickets, right? Like people expect their NFTs, because it's just called NFTs, it's just like, okay, you're gonna buy this artwork, like, and also it gets you into this club, like also it gets you into this party. And that's, I don't know. Look, that's just not for me. I just want to make art, and if you like it, you can buy it. And then I don't think that then I also need to be like a really good at planning a social club as well. So I think that kind of fragmentation will be good. And then, so to zoom in, then what do I think will be happening to the NFT art world? Well, so far what it's done is it's created a viable marketplace for the types of art that was traditionally really hard to sell, which was art that exists on a screen, art that is JPEGs or whatever. And I would hope, this kind of selfishly, because I'm making beggars belief, which is a video game is art, but let's keep that going. All right, let's make NFTs. Let's use NFTs to make other formats of art that were less commodifiable into commodifiable art. So hopefully, we'll see more art that is like Beggar's Belief, that is fully interactive software. Because now artists have a lot more incentive to really embrace technology. They have a lot more incentive to really try to push the boundaries. Like, I know this from working in technology before. Like, if you're like, let's say you're really trying to push computer vision in your art, like, what your reward for that is? Like, pretty much nothing. Like, maybe like you'll get it shown in an artist run center and nobody will care, but like nobody was ever buying that art. But now, like, if you're, AR artwork is like a legitimate thing that people want to buy, then I think artists really embrace those media a lot more.
I couldn't agree more. Also, there has been a huge bottleneck between artists and their art and access to liquidity and art markets. So NFTs have democratized in a way, or in a utopic way, the access to be able to sell your art, which people and a lot of artists that I have been talking to for years, they have been telling me, I never thought I would sell my art, and also that translates to me. I never thought I would sell my art, and even the shitty memes I was doing when I started, they were fucking selling. So I was incredibly impressed by that, and was what inspired me to go in deeper, And right now we are creating complex artistic collaborations with hundreds of people, and I couldn't be happier where it's taking me. So I really think that these markets, as they evolve and they bring in more people and they give more opportunities, the NFTs are the catalyst that will drive us into a task-based economy and will solve the bottleneck of getting people to solve their art and also to sell digital products, because it was very difficult until now to sell anything digital.
Absolutely. And what, I'll say another thing about, NFTs leading into this stuff. Like, with where we're at right now, in like just in terms of all this mess, you know what I'm talking about, SBF and FTX and the market
Yeah,
and all of this
yeah,
stuff, right? And yet
yeah.
we've seen like and yet we've seen prices, ETH nominated prices of quality art hold up reasonably well, right? Like Art Blocks is still doing well, and some of the, I think, quality collections are
Man,
holding up well.
everything is going down. The shit I wanna fucking buy is going up. I can't fucking stand it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Gazers. I'm looking at it 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, bear market now. I'm gonna wait. It will drop. And now it's 25 last time I checked. Fuck my life. And I
But
look
like,
at my NFTs and they are down 90%. My fucking God.
yeah, I mean, look, like the crap that was always going to go to zero has gone to zero, right? But like all that I want to say is, like, if you care about crypto and like the future of crypto, like, go hug an artist today, because they're all you got for the next little while, right? Like, just here's where we're at in terms of crypto and in terms of art becoming even more closely intertwined with crypto culture, I think, is, look, man, for the next little while, I don't know how long it's going to be, probably like at least a year, there is no reason for a sane person to get into crypto for financial reasons. Okay. Like, there's there are just too many black swans that have happened, and like that raise the question of other black swans hanging overhead. So anybody who's adopting crypto right now, they're not going to be doing it to make money. No sane person anyway. I don't think so. Like, I think we're all settled in for, like, we're all settled in for a period of time where the money side of this is going to hurt. At least I am. So the only reason, like, really why people, I think, would be onboarded to crypto for the duration of like this bear market is for culture. Like, is if, it's because there are art there are artworks or other kinds of innovative digital assets that they can get on here. But I don't see a lot of people jumping into ETH or Bitcoin right now as a way to get money. Like, I only see it happening for the duration of this bear market. Like, the only adoption I see is going to be led by people who create actual value on here, and that value is going to look like artworks or some other
Yes,
technologically
yes.
innovative stuff.
Yes, but there is a little but here. There is a lot of people that have been on the sidelines and they are super curious and they are entering the space right now as the the prices are low. So they are being opportunistic as it is about as you are about it when you are entering the space. And I think this is a good thing, and especially since they will be rewarded in the next cycle, but also they come into it very curious. They buy their stuff, then they start to get involved with the communities. The price goes down, they come to the Discord, they ask why, they see people are active there. They are slowly starting to become like a crypto person, you know,
Yeah.
online. And I think this is highly infectious, and this is how most of us got the bug. So I was talking with Max Osiris 2 days ago,
Oh
and
yes.
he was saying something like the get rich quick, and I was like, the best way to get rich is to get rich quickly. You know, that is like the the best way. If they give you two options, would you like to get rich today or in 20 years?
Yeah, I think
Nobody
everybody would
will
choose the same
say.
option.
Yeah, nobody will be like, 20 years, man, that's the right thing to do, you know? So I think the allure and the charm of get rich quick is there, and we all can feel it. And people who don't say that this is true, they are partially, I think, lying. There is a huge allure to that, and the never-ending ceiling of something mooning. It's nice, man, and it feeds on the ambition and the ego of people. It just needs to be education there to keep everything in check, keep everything healthy, and keep markets healthy. That's a big challenge, of course, and um, easier said than done.
Well, I like that
But
outlook, and I like that optimism. So I hope you're right. In my version, I mean, my version is selfish because my version of an outlook for the next couple of years is like, artists are all you got. So that's probably a very self-serving perspective. Um,
I
but
think
right.
they come into crypto with the idea of making money, but then whatever their passion is amplifies. Because, like, let's say your passion is cars, you find a project that is car centric, or you find you get to belong somewhere. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done a good job of building that up over the next over the previous few years. I agree. Look, I just wanted to say it's 3:24 where I am now, and I'm sorry I don't want to give anybody the rush, but I do gotta go and finish something up at 3:30. So I don't know if you do questions or anything like that. Is that okay with
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, yeah, no worries. First of all, I would like to welcome Dudley to the conversation. He's finally home. How's it going,
Hey,
man?
hey, hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, Mitchell, thank
Uh,
you very much for your fucking warm words about me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Very, hey, I got some question. Can I quickly, before you
Yeah.
yes,
go?
go ahead.
It's going towards the Croquet challenge. First is, how did you approach it? I mean, what's your idea, or did you researching opportunities for like gamification of an artwork, or it was somehow like a
Basically, how
eureka?
did you come up with the idea,
Yeah,
right?
how did you come up with the idea to particularly choose like Winslow Homer's Crockett Challenge for this?
Okay.
And
So
also, guys, raise your hands in the meanwhile if you have any questions. Glad to pass the mic to you.
So with that, I mean, I had known for years that like I wanted to make games. I just felt like that was that like that's the way to make art now. I thought it for a couple of reasons. One is because, you know, it's just a technology that's accessible to people. It's so expressive. You know, I really enjoy playing video games myself, and there are many moments in video games where I just think like this is an incredible experience. And if you know, this kind of experience making, you know, we're, you know, being used to the end of just making an artistic statement, you know, you just you turn the dial a little bit, like, to being just a little bit less about like entertaining someone and giving them their next dopamine rush, and you turn it just a little bit towards the side of, you know, having something to say and expressing it and making people think. And I'm like, this is just the ultimate art format. And then the other reason why I knew that I wanted to make games is because I make art that is about the world we live in today. Right? No matter how old the art is that I'm referencing, like, I'm never doing it because I'm some sort of like Renaissance fair LARPer or anything like that. It's because I feel like I can talk about the world we live in today. And the world we live in today is so incredibly gamified. Everything we do is gamified. I interact with all these people on the internet, and I watch my likes go up and my score go up. And then maybe you go to a job, maybe you work for Uber, and you turn on your little, you know, heads up display, and it gives you a quest to pick someone up and drop them off, and then you get rewarded, you know, with money. Like, life is gamified. And so to talk about the game of life, right, I want to make an art game. So that's how I
Yeah,
did it.
that's really cool. I totally agree with the art form of video games where it's combining the visuals, the sound, the copywriting, the story, yeah, and everything, and the gameplay itself also. But I was asking particularly on this artwork, if it was like on your mind, or you was in a gallery, or you saw it on the internet, or were you like searching for something that's gonna be good
How did
to
the
gamify?
inception? Where was the inception, right?
Okay. So I'll tell you the truth about this, okay? So I knew that I was going to do a video game, and I knew that the theme of the first 4 or 5 video games I was going to do was going to be sports. All of the game art pieces that I'm going to be making are going to revolve around the theme of sports. And so anyway, but I was never going to do them. I thought I was done making art that referenced older art. You know, Red and I were talking about, I made a piece that says, hey, this artist Yves Klein had some ideas to apply to blockchain. I made this artwork that said, hey, this
Oh,
artist Sol
please
LeWitt.
don't stop that. Please
No, I
don't
got
stop.
to, I
Keep
got
doing.
to, I got to. And I'll tell you why, is just because like the crypto art scene is so much more mature now than it was when I started, even more mature than it was a year and a half ago when I made LeWitt Generator. Like, these people here, like, they get this now. They don't need me to like be that like educator about it, you know? And so, but this show, like I said, this was a commission for a museum. And the museum curator, Tina Rivers Ryan, said to me, but look, the idea of this exhibition is you're going to take an existing work that we already have in the museum, and you're going to make a work that responds to it or that talks about it. And I said, oh, God, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. So this one last time, I'm going to reference a traditional artwork. But, you know, like I said, I didn't want to do conceptual artwork. I looked specifically, like, I already knew that I wanted the Beggar's Belief series to be about sports. So I looked through the Albright Knox collection for an artwork that depicted sports, and this was the piece that they had. Is by Winslow Homer. It depicted a croquet game. I was like, fair enough, this basically fits with what I was doing. I'll turn this in, I'll make an actual croquet game where it looks just like this painting. And then from there, basically I chose it just because it was the artwork that related to sports, where I could bring to bear a lot of the ideas that were already going through my head. But the fact that it was a Winslow Homer painting actually brought all these other factors into the artwork that then I got to respond to, right? Like, that painting was painted months after the end of the American Civil War by a painter who had painted the American Civil War more than like any other painter. It shows, you know, this kind of like these gender structures. So I was able to bring that in, but it really came from me just looking to make an artwork that was going to be essentially a game about a game.
Amazing. And
Yeah,
what was the biggest struggle?
I just looked up Winslow Homer.
Yeah, it's really
Very
pretty
very
cool.
cool. Let me say I think Mitch has to go,
Yeah,
so I
sadly.
will
Oh, I'm
Talk you
sorry that I
there.
missed more
No worries,
introductions,
man.
Dudley.
It's
No
okay.
worries. We
I'm a
just
huge
like to
fan
talk
of
a lot.
both of you guys. I was, as you know, huge fan of the Gazette, and yeah, I really mean it, Dudley. I think that your covers are just they're you're so
Yeah, bro.
versatile as
I
an
was also
artist.
trying something with like game. I had my ambitions, you know. I will send you on a DM my prototype I did like years ago. And you using Unity for this, or
Yeah,
what is the tech? Okay. Yeah,
Unity.
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming in here. Majak, Chuli, Nick, Amal, Clomera.
Thank you,
Sorry, you
everybody. A
got
pleasure to
Yeah,
talk to you.
yeah.
Thank you, Mitch, for
Thank you.
coming in. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor. And we will have some more amazing guests for you guys next week. So just join us daily. See
Right
you
on.
all. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
guys. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Bye, bye, bye.